Taco Cast. I'm Crystal.
I'm Will.
You're our audience. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
So, my lovely, darling, adorable co-host here has been quite the jokester prior to starting filming. This is our third time starting because
I have no idea what you're talking about. I had a scratch around my nipple, and she found that really funny and thought I should keep it in the actual video.
I mean, his whole shirt off.
Well, sometimes you can't reach it with the shirt on.
I'm all going on about the topic for today, and I look in the video feed, and I'm like...
You lost it, didn't you? You lost it mentally.
It was gone.
Oh, it's gone. The topic is gone.
There's no topic.
No. Go ahead. So we're going to cover possible guests next week. We saw in the comment section...
We saw in the comment section, people were chatting. They're wanting to discuss COVID vaccine as our next topic. So we're hoping to get a guest on to help us discuss that in...
We couldn't this week because of the holiday weekend.
But hopefully we can get somebody here who can discuss that with you guys in more in-depth than I'm qualified to do so. If not, we'll be covering it, and I'll be wandering about the topic in my usual unorganized style.
Oh,
Yay.
Great. So, no planning then, is what you're saying.
Planning is for the week.
Yeah, well, okay. So, we're going to talk about possible vaccine and testing next week, or are we just going to cover vaccine from a one-sided, so we have a very limited audience?
Ooh, it's kind of hard to pack. It's a lot of information. It's kind of hard to pack all of that into 20 minutes, so we could do a longer segment.
We could. Or we could do a live.
We could do a live and have people asking questions. Let's give us till what, Wednesday before, we should have a hard cutoff. That way people know whether or not they're...
We have no way of notifying them. We have no community tab yet.
We have no community tab.
And until we get to 1,000 subscribers.
Oh.
And we the last 2 videos, we've had a total of 2 shares.
Guys, tell your friends.
Unless somebody stumbles upon it, we're not growing anywhere. We're just losing subscribers.
No.
We're down 3 subscribers.
Who are they? Why did they leave? Do you want a fruit basket? I'll send you one. It'll
only
only
have... That they don't
I don't
like
have a lot of money, so it's only going to have like a fruit, but, it'll...
So, back to what I was saying. So, testing? Vaccine? Maybe
vaccine
next
testing.
week. But we have no way of notifying anybody, like I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's either they're either going to see the video or they're not going to.
Yeah. We could do a live. I'd prefer to do a live if we had a guest. That way people could prepare questions.
It just could be us.
Well, that's true, but somebody might have a really good detailed question, like, Crystal, tell me about blah, blah, blah adjuvant, and I'll be like, whereas somebody else would be like, oh, here's blah, blah, blah.
You do what a lot of other channels do. They just lie.
But I would prefer
somebody
to
asks
not
you a
do
question,
that.
you just babble out, nonsense, and end around. Kind of like some people who are in political office. They just dance around the subject for a half an hour and then they walk away.
I mean, if people are going to ask me questions, I feel like I should give them,
you want
answers.
What? Are we supposed to give people actual real content?
And
answers? Okay. If you say so, I guess we'll do that. So, all right. Well, we can always, but like I say, if you're doing a live and you don't know the answer, you just say, "I don't know the answer." I will try to research that and answer it in the comment section.
Oh, okay. Well,
could you please post a question in the comment section? That way, I can come back and ask it later. Answer it later on.
Okay.
Once I've researched it. Or, you just say,
We could do that. But before you guys develop your questions to ask us during the live, full caveat, I am not an immunologist, so there may very well be a lot of questions that you'll have that I'll just be like...
I had no idea. I thought she was an entomologist. This is not my happy wife.
Entomologists are bugs. I said immunologist.
Oh, entomologist.
Immunologist.
Immunologist.
Yes, it's a study of the immune system.
Immunologist.
Yeah, an entomologist is bugs.
Ooh, That's your least favorite thing.
I like bugs.
What bugs do you like?
I like bees.
What? Are they bugs?
Bees are bugs.
Are they bugs?
I like certain varieties of spiders. I am a member of the Xerces Society for the Conservation of Invertebrates.
I never see her actually open the mail.
That's because they
mail her stuff all the time, and I never see her open them.
It's because they email me also. That's
okay. So
I opened the paper.
I mean, so you like some bugs, but most bugs.
I like some bugs. That's true, and I like some bugs when they're not in my space, and some bugs when they can, like. So I'm a member of several bug groups. One of them actually.
Bug groups.
There are bug groups.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they've got entomologists, both professional and amateur, that are in them, and people can post pictures of bugs that they find for identification. And so I'm in a number of bug groups, and sometimes I'll post pictures of interesting bugs that I found, and sometimes I'm just there to look at pictures of cool bugs.
Okay.
And one of them actually has a spider rescue.
So what?
If you find a spider that
Spiders.
that you are uncomfortable living with.
That's every spider.
Yeah, they don't belong in my home. That's a no-go zone. There are people, it's an informal network, but there are people who will take your spider from you and give it a home.
So I can call them up and say, hey, I got a daddy long leg in my kitchen. Can you come take it away?
Well, it's a daddy long leg. You just be like, dude, outside, and then you put it outside.
Is it true that they have the most poisonous venom, but they can't puncture the actual skin?
I don't believe so. I think that's
Is that
actually
like a urban myth?
I think that's an urban legend.
Is it a legend or a myth?
I think actually they're synonymous, one or the other. But daddy longlegs look like a couple of other varieties of spider, and I want to say that one of them is venomous. I don't know for sure. But I think that's the case. I think that it's. But
she once moved out of part of her house over a black widow.
He's not wrong.
She's just like, that's it. Closed the door and walked away. Never went back.
I couldn't get in to kill her. Seemed like nothing worked.
Yeah, well, because she'd been breathing in freaking, fumes from that big giant vial of mercury you had sitting around on the counter with no top.
Okay.
A big vial of liquid mercury just sitting there. We won't say where it came from, but we'll move on. So, all right. So, entomologists, they like bugs, and they study bugs, and they talk about bugs, and you like some bugs.
I like some bugs. Right. I even like some spiders.
I don't like any of them. I can't stand ants, and I can't stand flies.
Flies bug me.
I could do without either one of them ever. I see no purpose for ants, and I see no purpose for flies.
Yeah, they have purpose. They clean up.
Oh, do they? Good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like them. So, moving on.
Okay.
All right. So, possible guest next week to talk about something that may not happen. All right, moving on to something that very well may happen. This is going to happen. The next topic that we're going to talk about is a nonprofit organization that Crystal is a member of. It's a scavenger hunt. It's worldwide with members all over the world. It's called GISH. Please explain who started GISH and why it's important.
The reason why we had to do the retake is because it took me 11 minutes to get to that.
It's going to take you 11 minutes. You don't tell them.
Nobody knows. It's going to be a secret. Okay, so it was started by the actor Misha Collins.
Misha Collins.
Do
you know who he is?
He's an actor on the show Supernatural.
Supernatural? Mm-hmm. What Supernatural? Mm-hmm. Is that on cable?
No, well, it's on the CW. I don't cable anymore. So maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe.
So it's a nonprofit organization started by Misha Collins.
So
what do they raise money for?
They raise money for. They're one of the primary funding sources for the charity Random Acts, which was also started by Misha Collins. And each year the charity does something different. Again, it's global. So whatever thing that is that they're doing is going to be all over the world. One year, they were buying up acres of rainforest to save habitat for pangolins.
What is a pangolin?
It looks like the world's most adorable armadillo.
Oh, okay.
They're about like yay big, and they're
Oh,
covered
the
in,
most
like,
trafficked animal in the world.
Yes, yes. So they were buying acres
Okay.
of forest to preserve their habitat. One year, the entrance fees to the charity scavenger hunt went wait, what? What?
Go ahead.
So, they had mini hunts this year, and one of I can't. What are you doing, you giant dork?
Pangolins.
Pangolins,
Pangolins.
not penguins.
Penguin.
Penguins are too.
Ooh, they're the arch enemy of Batman. I read that online. Oh no, that is a penguin. Just one penguin out of all of them.
I'm gonna just be a
All right, but scavenger hunt, and why would we want to be telling people about this nonprofit and the scavenger hunt?
Because registration is open, and if you're looking for a fun thing that you and your family can do, you want to make some new friends, you can join the greatest international scavenger hunt the world has ever seen, which has currently been shortened to GISH, Greatest International Scavenger Hunt. Registration it's like $24. I pre-registered last year, so I don't actually remember. But if you are unable to afford the registration fee, people do gift registrations to people. I know several people who aren't able to play themselves but want to support it, so they gift registrations to people. I myself.
Can you do this in every community around the world?
You can do this in every community around the world.
Do you have to travel for it?
You do not, although
is there cost
you can.
in each, to do these scavenger hunts?
It's entirely up to you. It can be no cost. It can be heavy cost. It is entirely up to you. And there are different styles of teams. There are in it to win it teams.
Do you win prizes?
You do. You do win prizes. The grand prize is typically a trip somewhere.
A trip?
Yes.
Is it to like someplace where penguins are?
Pangolins. It's a different place every year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to win a trip to some place that's hot and dry.
Could we live in a place that's hot
I know,
and dry?
right? That's why I don't want to win a trip to that. But then again, maybe somebody who's being rained on constantly would want to come here. How about that?
Hey, anybody wants? We have a guest room. You're welcome to stay.
So, okay. A nonprofit, a possible guest,
Yeah.
and your husband
seriously,
Strange.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
But,
It's some serious good fun. We've had an international. Our team. Wait, team shirt. Our team has had. Has been a truly international team every year that we've gone. We've had last year.
This is my shirt from my other channel.
We had members Scotland, Germany, Japan, Australia. We've had members from all over. Honestly, it's a great time, provided you find the right team. Some people are in it to win it. They're wallets out. They're throwing money at it. They're doing all of this stuff. We're kind of in between. Typically, the people on our team are people who have families. We work. We know that not everybody's going to be able to be gished 24/7 for the whole week, so we're not really going to be pressuring people.
You have to be on a team?
There are teams, but you don't have to make one. You could just join up, and then at the end of registration, what they'll do is any teams, so the team captains go in and they decide, do we want to have a 9-person team or a 15-person team? And then you recruit people for your team. A lot of teams have people join back up next year, whatnot. Anyway, you can just join as a single person. And then at the end of registration, teams that aren't filled, all the single people will be filed into those teams to fill those teams up.
Is it kind of like dodgeball where you have to pick players?
You
for your
can.
team, and then you're like, oh, but that person, they don't look like they can play dodgeball very well. I was always that kid.
So typically, what I do, every team captain is different. What I do is I make the ads for the team. I let people know what we're about, because you need a team that's going to fit you and your style. Are you, Are you independently wealthy and bored all summer long and you just want to throw a pile of money at people? It's not the team for you, but there are teams like that out there. Do you want to do maybe one or two things and just be a team cheerleader? There's teams like that for you out there. So I make my ads for my team. I let people know what we're about and what we're going to do. And then I have a short conversation with people who are interested to make sure that I'm the kind of team that they're looking for. And if I think we're going to be a good fit, I extend an invitation to join the team. If not, I know other team members or other teams and team captains that might be a better fit. And I'll forward their information to somebody else.
Is your team filled?
My team is not filled. I have open spots.
Oh. All right. So can we go back to the first part about the COVID thing?
Yes.
Since we're here, and I have a couple questions about COVID.
Okay. Here, let me.
I would like to hear your entomologist experience on this. Wait.
You did that on purpose.
No, I didn't do that. You actually did. But my question would be, so I hear that the reason why we are having a spike in America right now in the actual COVID positives is because we're testing more. If we just stopped testing, we wouldn't have so many positives. Can you talk about that?
Hold on.
Is that a homicidal thought you're having right there?
Nope.
I mean, it's a real question.
I'm just putting good vibes into the universe. So, let's talk about data sets.
What is that?
Data sets.
Data sets.
Data sets.
Okay.
You are never going to have two studies done on any one thing that are going to be 100% correct, and they're never going to mesh with each other 100% because your data sets are always going to be a little bit different. People in research know this. We know that nothing is going to be 100% because you don't capture all of the individuals, you don't capture all of the parameters. There's always going to be variables that you didn't account for. That's not a flaw in the data collection. That's just an inherent risk of data collection. When you're talking about increases in cases, yes, technically, you are going to see an increase when you increase testing, but that's not because that increase wasn't there beforehand. It's just because you've widened your data pool. What you want to look at isn't hard numbers. You want to look at percentages. So if you tested 50% of people and you had 10% that were positive, and so that's 5, now you're testing 100 people and you've got 10 positives. Did you actually increase? Well, no, because it's still 10%. So whenever you're evaluating data, you want to take a lot of other stuff into consideration. You want to take in percentages. When people are talking about increases in crime rates, was that increase in crime rate, did it correlate with an increase in the population for that particular area? If so, there's not been an actual increase as long as it follows the trajectory one expects with an increase in population. Stuff like that. I use that because you're true crime and I want to...
Thank you. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, make it so it's relatable to me. I got it.
So when you say we have an increase in cases because we're testing more, it is technically correct, but it is also incorrect because chances are we had those same number of cases. So you want to go back and want to look at what our percentage is. When we go back and we look at percentages, we see that it's the idea that we're getting more cases because we're testing more is incorrect because our percentages are elevating. So we're testing more people, but we're getting a higher percent. To use the previous example where we tested 50 people and we had 5 positive and it was 10%, and then we test 100 people and we have 10 positive, it's not an actual increase because it's still 10%. In this analogy, we would have tested 50 people and gotten 5 positive. Now we're testing 100 people and we're getting 15 positive. Our percentage has actually increased.
Okay. So stop testing people then.
Oh, for
I mean, if how are we supposed to get the economy back open? Because you know what, we're Americans, and we put the dollar always before everyone's health and their well-being. So what we need you to do is stop testing people, so we can open the economy back up, so people can get back to work and provide for themselves. Because clearly, on the other side of it, though, the government is not going to help the average person. So the economy where we live has been closed now since the beginning of April, and it is now July. And even if you're one single person, you would have eaten $1,200 in food in all that time, and not paid for anything else. But so the government isn't going to help us. We can't help ourselves. So the answer is, if you stop testing, we can open back our businesses back up.
I was gonna go with the answer: set everything on fire and start over.
No, but and then at the same time, it's like, why does the mom and pop stores, why can't they open? This mom and pop restaurants open, but we can open up, Target, Walmart, and everything else can be open. The bigger conglomerate businesses can be open, but the smaller stores can't.
You have a really, really good point there. And for all that I am a proponent of masking and social distancing when people shop, I'm also not a big proponent of total shutdowns. Now, part of the reason why I'm not a big proponent of that is because our society is not set up to support people through that. We're just not. And people got to eat. So, like you said, what do you do? Why is it Walmart gets to turn a profit, but the little boutique down the road where we would typically prefer to shop doesn't get to make a profit? This is the point typically where the person in me who is very anti-corporatist would rally about how big business is actually should be anathema to the American citizen, and we should just set all of that on fire also.
Well, you're an anarchist.
I'm a little bit of an anarchist, but we've discussed this.
Okay.
It's because
Yeah.
I think people are inherently good and that we're capable of governing ourselves.
Anarchy.
Yeah, just maybe. But I think in some cases, the argument has been made, and I don't think I'm qualified to evaluate whether or not it's accurate, but the argument has been made that these larger corporations are in a better position to help their employees through the pandemic. Some of them have, some of them haven't, and I don't know whether or not it actually holds weight. You know me, I would much prefer to patronize a smaller local business if possible. Which is why I do occasionally.
I have to edit that.
Okay.
You don't give away our location.
Okay.
So, all right. So pick up that thought about the chicken, but without the city, please.
Can I roll my eyes at you again?
Yeah, you can still roll your eyes at me.
Which is why I drive all the way out to Redacted.
Thank you. Another city just for chicken.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I can buy it from a smaller
Now,
retailer.
to get back to something where you possibly have some kind of knowledge and that you can actually talk on it a little bit, is I read online that they are working on a rapid test for positive or negative based on saliva.
Oh.
And it takes less than 5 minutes to get an actual result. And they want to use that in concurrent along with taking your temperature. If you have a temperature, a higher percentage temperature than the average, then you would go to an area and you would be tested with this, lick this swab or whatever the hell they would make you do. I don't know, but and then you would have to if you'd have to wait 5 minutes before you could get into a business. Do you think things like that have merit, or do you think that we should just open up and let everybody,
Let the chips fall where they may. I think stuff like that, it ultimately isn't. It's a money pit. It's going to make somebody money, but it's not all that viable. And the reason for that is...
Oh, they're already making money.
Oh, they're making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
A lot of that is because those smaller kit tests, they don't have a good sensitivity and specificity. And by that I mean your sensitivity, a test's sensitivity is its ability to pick up a true positive. That means that if you have COVID and I give you this test, it should have a high sensitivity. It should tell me, yes, you have COVID if you do in fact have COVID. Specificity is its ability to give me a true negative. That means I'm not missing positives.
Okay.
So for a lot of these kit tests, they miss positives and they give false negatives and they give false positives.
All right. Along with that, where do you stand on, and what's your view on required immunization for it, and them inserting microchips into our skin like Bill Gates wants us to? Which I'm saying is an actual freaking lie. All right, if you actually believe it on the internet, the microchipping. Bill Gates doesn't want to microchip you, ladies and gentlemen.
You have a cell phone. You can take it everywhere you
know,
go.
Right?
He doesn't need to microchip you. He could literally just be, Billy Bob went to go get chips again. And Billy Bob's like, yeah, I did. I went to go get chips.
You carry even if you turn GPS off on your phone, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to break the bad news to you. If you have that cell phone and it is on, actually powered on, anywhere you go, all your social media apps are tracking you, and so is Google and Apple or whatever device you have. They're tracking you, and they know exactly where you've been. Even if the thing is turned off.
There are ways to turn off the geo-tracking on your phone, but most people are not aware of them and have not done what needs to be done to get it completely turned off. And what Bill said is 100% accurate.
So go ahead. Bill Gates wants to microchip us, and the vaccines. Where do you stand on mandatory vaccines?
So where do I stand on mandatory vaccines? And a lot of people who know me are going to think this is weird. I don't believe that vaccines should be mandatory.
What?
I know.
Are you an anti-vaxxer?
I am not. In fact, that's why a lot of people are going to find it weird, because I spend a lot of my time educating people about typical anti-vax lies and myths, fighting against anti-vax misinformation campaigns. I invest a lot of my time and effort in combating the anti-vax cult. But I am not a fan of mandatory vaccination because, for the same reason...
Is that because you think it's dangerous?
No.
Is there mercury in it?
There's not.
Is it going to make us all autistic?
No.
Oh.
It's because I don't believe a person should be subjected to any kind of medical procedure that they do not consent to, even if that lack of consent is because they're a complete dumbass.
Did our son become autistic because we gave him vaccines?
No, he didn't.
What?
I know, right?
Are you sure the vaccines didn't cause his autism?
I am 100% sure the vaccines did not cause his autism.
Okay. Well, I was going to blame the vaccine.
I know.
Jenny McCarthy told me that I have to blame the vaccines, and that is what caused my son to have autism. So now I have to give him 20,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day, and that's going to fix it.
Didn't she also do coke off the back of a public toilet?
She probably did.
Oh no, that was the other anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
Never mind. Regardless, we don't take things that anti-vaxxers say to heart.
But you're not in favor of the COVID vaccine.
No, I am.
How are we ever going to open society back up without
I
the
am in favor
mandatory...
of the COVID vaccine. I think it should be available, free of cost to every citizen. But
Shouldn't
I don't
we run any kind of trials on it first, though?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Because otherwise, we're looking at major lawsuits all over and tying up the court system.
Yeah.
Because somebody didn't get it fast enough. Somebody got in line before them. We're going to have fights. I'm more privileged than you. Give me my vaccine first.
There's going to be a lot of that. There is going to be a lot of that, and unfortunately...
Why does a superstar athlete get it before, Susie got it? Susie had an adverse reaction to it, and at the age of 62 became autistic because of her vaccine shot.
For fuck's sake.
I mean, there's so many things that are going to happen. because if we have a vaccine, and I personally, this is truthful. I'm not being sarcastic here. I am a little bit worried at the fact that we are not able to put it into any kind of clinical study, before we're actually going to start just injecting this stuff into people.
Well, one of the things you got to
we
keep
know
in mind.
we know what the safety protocol is for vaccines, but the mass hysteria that's going to be caused by once it gets out there.
When you're talking about developing a vaccine, we already know that the vaccines are safe. The carrier bases are safe. All of that is fine. And so what's probably going to happen is they're going to be using vaccine technology that's already established. They're not reinventing the wheel.
Why not?
Because we
Don't
already
we have
have
to
one that
reinvent
works
the
fine.
wheel every time we come up with something new?
No. All they're really going to be trying to figure out is how to get the most effective combination of antigens into the human being to get the kind of antibody response that they're looking for. Antigens are proteins that are on the surface of a cell, or the virus in this case. They're on the surface of the virus, and the antigen will trigger the antibody. It's like a lock and a key. The antibody is a protein that is fit perfectly on there. And so basically they just have to figure out what antigen is going to get the antibody reaction that they want and whether or not that antibody reaction is going to be safe. There are some antibody reactions, and we're going to segue into the whole microchipping thing. There are some antibody reactions that are not safe. And there are some vaccines that we know can only be given once because that antibody reaction it isn't it's the human body doesn't react the same to every invading organism or protein and stuff like that. That's why you sniff pollen and maybe your whole face puffs up, or maybe you just get a runny nose. Everybody's a little bit different. Every antigen causes a slightly different reaction, and some antibody reactions are really, really bad. It's one of the reasons why if you go in and you're in the hospital and they think they might have to give you blood at some point in time, they're going to redo your blood typing every couple of days, because that's the bare minimum it's going to take for you to develop a new antibody reaction. And blood antigen reactions are systemic, and they can't be stopped once they start. So they want to make absolutely sure that in those 2 days you've been there, you haven't developed a new antibody, because if they give you a unit, they want to make 100% sure that you are not going to have a reaction to it. Because some of those reactions are super mild, you're going to have a fever and everything's going to be fine, and some of the reactions are instantaneous and they explode every red cell in your body, which is bad.
Wow, that sounds like it might be deadly.
It is in fact very deadly.
Every red blood cell in my body blowing up?
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know how you can live.
You can't.
Oh.
So the microchip thing. Aid workers in areas where record keeping is poor to non-existent had been discussing what is the best way to prevent accidentally inoculating somebody with a vaccine that you can only give one time. And a couple of the suggestions that had been floated were a light reactive tattoo dot given at the time of inoculation, or a microchip that has the date and vaccines given encoded on it, that other aid workers, when they come into the area, could like bloop bloop, oh, you already had it, okay, let's not myrtleize you by giving you a second one. On your way, sir.
Huh. So did Bill Gates actually say he was going to microchip us all?
No.
Because I've seen the meme that he couldn't even save Microsoft Windows from a virus, so now he wants to save us from an actual real virus.
Yeah, no.
Bill, so he didn't say that.
Bill and Melinda Gates have done an amazing amount of philanthropy and funding for vaccine programs, and that is how his name got tagged onto the microchip.
Well,
and the tattoo.
he actually brought up that part that you were just talking about, the light-sensitive tattoo. And this was not in the United States. It had to do with malaria medications and medications that they were giving in third world countries where people were nomadic in nature. They don't live in a fixed village all year round, and the aid workers are always trying to catch up with the different groups in order to vaccinate them all. But I can see how that got mixed up, where people thought we have to get microchipped by Bill Gates. Oh, actually, I can't figure.
I feel like you did that to me on purpose because you knew I was
I'm just being sarcastic.
Explode.
I can't figure that part out. How they jumped to microchipping, us for over the COVID, vaccine. But okay, so we know that Bill Gates doesn't want to microchip us. That if they do come out with the COVID, vaccine, should everybody with every medical condition get the COVID? No.
No.
Oh wow, they shouldn't, huh?
No.
Oh, so should we start with those if with the vaccine who are more in the high risk profile?
Yes.
Or should we just start, just going down the line and shooting it into everybody?
So there's a study a while back that shows that if you get the flu vaccine, you are more prone to dying from respiratory illness. Like we discussed earlier with evaluating all sorts of information. The reason for that is because we prioritize giving flu vaccine to people who are susceptible to respiratory illness. And people who are susceptible to respiratory illness have a tendency to die from respiratory illness. So a lot of people who were prioritized for flu vaccine did get ill and die from respiratory illness because they're susceptible to respiratory illness. So, we gave them the flu vaccine and they died of pneumonia half a year later. The two aren't actually correlated. The correlation is their susceptibility, not the actual vaccine. On that note, this virus appears to be, it affects a person's coagulation as well as their lungs. There's kidney damage, liver damage, lung damage because it's causing microclots. So your priority samples might change. Definitely, people who are susceptible to respiratory illness should be prioritized, but perhaps people also who have clotting disorders, people like myself who have clotting affinity, may be bumped up on that list. That's going to depend on whether or not we can isolate how COVID affects clotting ability. It may be something, in my case, it's a factor V mutation. It's going to depend. There's like 50 some odd steps in the coagulation cascade, and I'm not aware that we've figured out where COVID interrupts. So,
should we trust the medical community?
Yeah.
Do doctors know more than the average person?
They do.
Did they go to school for something special that makes them knowledgeable over if vaccines are harmful or helpful?
Yeah, and doctors actually get a pretty comprehensive vaccine education, because not only do they study vaccines themselves, but your provider, let me walk that back. Probably your provider. If you're seeing a podiatrist, he might not actually give any shits whatsoever about immunology, and that's fine. He's looking at your ankles, let him do his thing. But most providers get a comprehensive education in immunology before they even get to vaccines, because it's part of treating the human body. And while your podiatrist might be all about your ankles, he's also going to have at least a limited amount of knowledge on how your immune system affects inflammation, affects pressure in your joints.
So should I take my advice from memes and from Facebook doctors?
Well, I am a meme lord, so I'm going to say yes.
You are a meme lord. Meme, and you're mean as hell, too, Lord. That's why I stay off of Facebook, because, I'm tired of the dumpster fire.
Oh, God.
No, I'm just tired of the dumpster fire, which is Facebook. Take actual medical advice from an actual doctor?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I guess that pretty much covers it all. Except for one last part, maybe. But I don't think you can answer that, because like you said, you don't know that much about the actual testing itself.
Okay.
But I'm just curious, like, when are we going to be able to get back to normal? And a lot of people tell me, and say and comment that They don't want to wear a face mask forever, and they don't want this to be the new normal. But the other question, the last question that I had is about the mutation of the COVID virus that they've already found in other areas of the world, in India, Vietnam, and in North Korea.
So
And
this is one of
if that comes
Sorry.
to America, they believe that it would be even more deadly than the current one because of how it is affecting younger and younger people adversely and killing younger and younger people way under so the medium age for those who are susceptible and are in the high risk in America, I believe, is like 60, and where the second mutation is actually at 30 and up. It has been killing in those countries, but then again, the countries where it's actually hitting and the mutation and killing younger don't have exactly the best sanitary conditions or access to medical care. So
no, it's
I
a
guess
good reminder.
we have to wait for it to hit Italy and see what's going to happen.
It's a good reminder that I've had issues with the World Health Organization for a while.
Well, we all do. Anybody with a brain stem, who is actually, like us, I should say, because I'm not saying to everybody out there in the world. We have been studying, and in the medical field, at least Crystal and her entire family has. But as somebody who has to try to carry on a conversation, around a dinner table with 13 people who are all in the medical field, I have to, educate myself, because otherwise it's kind of like, I've been in this marriage for over 20 years. I still have no idea.
And
what
you
the hell
still
they're
haven't
talking
figured
about.
out why my coag joke is hilarious.
I have no idea what that is. I don't even know what a coag is or clogag or whatever. I don't know what any of it is. But I have to educate myself. I force myself to educate myself to understand what they're talking about when they talk, because they start talking about machinery and testing and differentials and stuff like that. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? I don't have no idea. But I have educated myself enough to make a logical and know where to get the information. And the World Health Organization, I've had a lot of problems with before COVID because of who they recognize in this world as existing and who they don't, believe is real.
My issues with the WHO has a lot to do with their recommendations and the way they do their recommendations. I don't believe that it is really appropriate to make global health recommendations because there's such a disparity in cultures, healthcare availability, and the like just from across the world. When they make healthcare recommendations, their healthcare recommendations are global, and they're always geared towards the countries most affected, least able to access, which is great because we need to know how to help those countries that are hardest hit and least able to access resources. But it leaves every other country not in that situation stuck with health recommendations that just don't fit their situation.
Well, they were bought off by China on this one. They were spewing the pure propaganda of what China was telling them. Instead of actually doing their own research and knowing what their people on the ground were actually telling them over and over again what was really going on, they said, what the government have to say? Well, that's what we're going to tell the world is really what you should do. So, all right, we'll wrap this up for today. In hindsight, any recommendations for somebody who might be hiding underneath their bed tonight, watching this because they're scared of the world and COVID? Any recommendations?
You can come out from underneath your bed. It's fine. It's okay to be worried. It's okay to be upset. Times are changing. Everything is scary, and a lot of people, you don't know what's going on from one day to the next. You might be fine, but worry about people that you're close to, and that's 100% okay. Life is a series of risk assessments, and humans are amazingly good at mitigating our risk with a certain amount of variability. If you want to go someplace and you're nervous about it, wear your mask, wash your hands, and you'll be fine,
I might add to that also, when you go to the grocery store, if they don't have like a wet wipe or something where you can wipe off the handle on the cart, don't freaking touch it. Wear gloves, something, and don't touch your face or your mouth or your eyes or your mask with it after you touch it. The other day, again, I took my son to the grocery store, and I was confronted by a lady who wanted to stop me from entering the store with my son because he wasn't wearing a mask. And I then watched that same lady who just got done chastising me because my son wasn't wearing a mask walk over to a cart, grab it with her bare hands, pull the cart out of the rack or trolley, pull it out of the rack, and then go into the store with it, and then go like this and brush the hair back from her face. She touched by her mouth and her eye and then her hair. You don't know who the hell touched that cart before you, and the people were coming out and leaving the carts right there by the door. They weren't going out to the parking lot. These were carts that people just left randomly right there by the front door.
Even when we're not talking COVID, hand washing is the single most effective tool we have against the transmission of disease. Just wash
your hands. Do you want the flu? Even if you don't get COVID, do you want the flu or the seasonal cold?
And also keep in mind that you are going to get ill.
What?
It's just what we do. It might not necessarily be COVID. I'm hoping it's not. But
Nobody wants COVID.
You're going to get
ill.
COVID
sucks.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Wash your hands.
And if I can leave you with one piece of advice that's not COVID related, is by all means, I'm giving you the okay to treat people as you wish to be treated. Do unto others as you wish to be, have done unto you. And this, we have this one life to live, and it's short and it's fleeting. Be nice to each other. Be respectful. And remember that just because you meet one awful person at the store or have run into one awful person at the post office doesn't mean the entire world sucks. There are good people out there like us who are here every week and talking about absolutely nothing with no plan at all. Oh, wait a minute. There's a possibility we might have a guest next week. There's a possibility of this. Oh, but GISH, the nonprofit charity, is really happening. So, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Any last words that you'd like to add today? Any words of wisdom?
I'll see you guys August 1st.
What?
That's when GISH starts. Everybody needs to join.
No, we'll be back before then. Next weekend is the weekend I'll be out of town, but we are going to have a pre-recorded episode for next weekend. So when we do possibly bring on this guest, what she wanted to say was it'd be the following weekend after that. So thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe out there, and thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to hit the like button, tell your friends, go over to your sons and daughters and make them sign into YouTube and subscribe to this.
Let's get up to that 1,000 so we can have a community tab.
We need a community tab. We need 1,000 people though, so we can talk amongst ourselves with people who just like the ramblings of two weirdos on here. So, bye.